There you go, Brian. Right. Welcome. Now everybody's on there. All right. So, you go in. Hey. So, three items from the agenda tonight. First one, I have the revised ADU regs. So just some updates on this because we actually have some more information on the guidelines. So it sounds like the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, or as we just call it, HLC, they're the ones that are responsible for creating the draft regulations for all these zoning things. What we discussed last meeting was they were enacted on February 2nd, and we were hoping for basically the final guidelines from HLC shortly after. We were hoping for before, because that would make a lot of sense. But no. So we were expecting shortly after, and we did find out that they are working on drafting the regulations. They are hoping to have those draft regulations by the end of March. Very timely.
Sure.
So I talked to other communities in our planning region, so that it includes Franklin, Rentham, Hopkinton, Dearborn, other towns, but pretty much everybody's doing what we're doing, with the exception of, I think we're being a little bit more proactive, not a little bit, a lot more proactive, because we actually have this committee that's formed and we're actually discussing some of the issues. What other communities are doing is just taking those draft regulations that they initially submitted that had some issues with them and are just kind of cherry picking out of there. So I think we're in good shape, but essentially everybody is of the same thought process that they're trying to get everything done for Springtown meeting. Having regulations at the end of March does not work because you need the warrant to be posted by then, which means you have a huge draft before then to be posted. So we were all discussing what to do, and basically they're all moving forward with getting an article on Springtown meeting, and in the fall, if once we have those draft regulations, there just probably be some tweaks and amendments. And the other item too is that, you know, the one outlier in all this that nobody really has any idea how they're going to react, operate, or do really in regards to the review is the Attorney General. So there's a chance that everybody's going to submit these regulations. They're all going to get approved at town meeting, and then the Attorney General reviews them and decides to deny them. We're just back at square one with, okay, we have enacted regulations, and it just puts, you know, him and I in an awkward position when people are trying to figure out what to do with their property. So that is the update on.
And what does happen at that point? If I'm a property owner and I want to build something, am I told that I have to wait?
No, it's because there are people.
It's in right now.
Yeah, nobody's submitted a building permit.
Right? There's a couple coming
in. Okay, so that makes sense, but
we haven't had one this morning.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah.
So
that was already existing.
Yeah, but there's a little girl of people. I mean, they let know about it, you know.
Correct.
They're ready to do it.
Yeah. So I wanted to give everyone that update. The good thing is that I think, as I mentioned, I think we're in really good shape compared to other communities where we're actually talking about this. We're getting more educated than most communities as we're trying to get in front of these regulations, which is good. But with that being said, I assume that this is going to be another discussion.
Sure.
So, but with that, I have, based our conversation, I went through our minutes and I watched the recording again to make sure I got everything, but I did make some tweaks to our original draft language. And I can go through them quickly. And so the first one under definitions, we were trying to understand the accessory dwelling unit definition, and it was a very odd way it was written in the regulations. So I just took the beginning and added, we have a dwelling definition in our existing zoning bylaws, which makes a lot more sense than what the initial regulations
Sure.
had. And that was just a self-contained housing unit consisting of one or more rooms with separate kitchen and bathroom facilities on the same lot as a principal dwelling. So that, I think, is a lot easier to understand than what was initially written in the regulations.
Rob, quick question on this first one. In your definition, you've got, is not larger in gross floor area than 1/2 of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or 900 square feet. Isn't that a max? If someone has a, 3,000 square foot home, can they go 1,500 square foot? Right. So I'm thinking
Yeah.
900 foot should probably be a max,
Well, it says is not larger.
Yeah.
or whichever is smaller. So
Yeah.
that clarifies that.
Yeah. So at the end, it's not larger than, and then goes through half gross floor area or 900 square feet, and then it says whichever is smaller.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
That defines it. All right, so.
Oh, no problem.
I still don't understand one, and then three, like Roman numeral 3 at the end.
It's subject to such restrictions as may be imposed by a municipality. Yeah, that one's an odd one. So the thing is that what I think that they're trying to do here is they've stated in the regulations that an ADU cannot have any restrictions more than a single family house.
Yeah,
And I think that is their way of trying to state that. But I know what you mean. It's like why it is kind of an odd.
Obviously, put that in it, but they say you can't restrict anything.
Well, yeah, it doesn't.
isn't that a gateway that's a favorable thing for us?
Yeah, I think so, but I can understand where it's like, well, what does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything, and subject to such restrictions as may be imposed by municipal, everything subject to such restrictions as may be imposed.
There could be access, maybe, maybe driveway, or, there could be several different things.
Septic.
Require on a site plan, through site plan process,
Yeah,
Could that have to do with perhaps that the accessory dwelling would have to meet, say, the same zoning setbacks as the principal dwelling?
I think it means all this stuff.
Yeah,
It's basically just
yeah.
saying that the ADU, it has the separate entrance, gross floor area, and subject to such restrictions in the municipality. So,
But if this is our definition, we not strike that because we are the municipality. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It may be imposed by a municipality, that's us.
I agree. This is just the definition that was in that draft language, what
upon a single family home, or what's the rest of that?
what it really should say, it's essentially is subject to the restrictions that's set forth in, and it should really reference the development requirements.
Yeah, there you go. That's fine.
So,
And that's,
Yeah, that sounds,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I see your point, why this is a statement by us, and we're saying
To us.
as imposed by us.
yes.
Mhm.
But I like the way,
Yeah, I think adding that.
Yes.
Subject, yeah.
there you go.
Right, and requirements. Yep.
So you're taking quote municipality and putting,
What I think I will do is subject to such restrictions as stated in, it would be section 240-74 period B, which is development requirements. Excellent. This is good. That's how we talk about these things. Um, the rest of the definitions, because I know we were also talking about the principal dwelling structure, which the principal dwelling definition, because when it says a structure regardless of whether it conforms to zoning, I think the intent of that, regardless of whether it conforms to zoning, is basically stating if it's a existing non-conforming structure, you still have the right to add an ADU if the ADU meets the required setbacks.
All setbacks except for frontage.
Correct. Yeah, well, that's right, because frontage is. Which even that,
That's what they're getting a break from. Well, they're getting a break from frontage and area.
but even that, like, just that, in my opinion, when it comes to existing nonconformities, the whole intention is to make it less nonconforming, which I feel like the state's just totally out of their bounds for allowing something like this.
I can't believe they set it in motion before the final.
Yes.
At this time.
It's
so ridiculous.
it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening.
So we're gonna have certain things approved between now and then when the new regulation comes in, it's gonna be, that person could have done that. Well, why is that like that? And why did he do that? And I don't have to,
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Do you drag your feet on approvals? Is that,
no, you can't really do it. I can't deny it if they meet the intent, of the regulation that was.
we don't know all the regulations, right?
Well, no, they have it to go by, but it's still being tweaked.
Yeah, and that's why it's,
And I think at the end of March, when we get that regulation, like, we are gonna have to go by that regardless of
yeah.
what we have
Bob,
here.
in your conversations with neighborhood, is there any opinion that this free-for-all period, meaning when the state enacted it, and when the towns get the opportunity to catch up, whether that free-for-all period is intentional,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
strategic on the state's part?
Yeah, nobody really gave their personal opinion on the matter, except one town. I got a little heated during the conversation, but, yeah, I think everybody is, they are fairly disappointed with the direction that the state has gone in as far as mandating this and not really giving us the backbone to safely enforce is really the issue. Because I mean, it is a free for all, really, and it's an issue.
Oh my God, I'm getting a phone call. I got a phone call today. Can you tell me, can I finish my attic now? I'm like, look, I said, you need to get an architect. I'm not here to tell you whether you can do something correctly. You need to get it designed and he'll look at all your situation.
Yeah,
Phone call after phone call now. Sucks.
I know when it comes to this, like, for example, when things come in front of the ZBA for like family apartments, you could get some pretty nice hand sketches to show exactly what is being done, and it works for that, but in this case, what you're saying about the architect engineer,
I want drawings.
Get it.
Before,
Yeah,
I
get
would
it.
let people do sketches. As long
Yeah.
as because the book says they can draw their plan.
yeah,
But you know what? The detached structures now, and even attached, they have to have egress. I probably had 3 calls today, just on that, different houses.
Yeah.
Wanting to do it. It's just, I told the guy with the attic, I said, well, do you have a builder? He's like, no, I just want to know. I said, well, I don't come out to your house and look at your situation, I said, you need to get an architect, and you have to have egress. And there's you can't circumvent the building code.
yeah,
He's like, okay, Then I had another one on Laurel Lane this morning, he wants to put an apartment in, he's on septic, it's the whole thing, I'm gonna describe this 5 times a day to people.
oh yeah, Yeah,
You might wanna do it.
They have,
Physically
I have
accessible.
this online, I have it at
Yeah.
the counter, for people to pick up the regs,
yeah.
but it's just gonna be from.
Yeah, things to consider, your
Oh,
septic, your
yeah.
egress,
You
your.
have to,
Oh,
now
wow.
I have to, now I have to go through, I'll go on a couple of the towns and put something together.
Yeah.
Because everybody's doing,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
it's so busy, it's like, we're doing one thing after another, and it's like, you just get interrupted constantly.
Can I convert my shed in the back?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have a she shed. So, going back to this, some of the other changes, under development requirements, the first one. I did add, so I had it initially as a total of one ADU is allowed by right in the residential, suburban, or agricultural zoning districts. I added per lot in there, so a total of one ADU is allowed by right per lot in the residential, suburban, or agricultural zoning district. And then,
So Rob, help me understand that. So if you've got say a 4 acre piece of property, but it's subdividable or already has been into 2 lots, does that mean they can put 2 units?
One on each lot,
One on
Yep.
each lot,
correct.
one on each conforming lot.
one on each conforming lot, okay.
And the reason why I added this in here is because I didn't want it to be interpreted as a total of one ADU is allowed by right in the structure or principal dwelling. Because then you'll have, if you have, for example, a private developer who has townhouses or something.
Yep, that makes sense.
And in some cases, it might not even be under common ownership. It might be some type of housing, who knows?
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to specify per lot.
Yeah, some lots, pre-existing lots have 2 houses on them.
Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was one. 2 is new. I add that this is regarding temporary structures. So an ADU cannot consist of a temporary structure, including but not limited to recreational trailers or tents, which are temporary structures are defined in our zoning bylaws. And in that definition, it states a temporary structure consists of portable or demountable structures intended for continuous use for not longer than 1 year. I just added that in there. We could strike that if we wanted to and just leave it to.
You want to reference that section of the bylaws rather than
Yeah,
re-articulate?
that's fine. Do that. So including but not limited to recreational trailers and tents as defined, or I could do an ADU cannot consist of a temporary structure as defined in.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would do the term temporary structure have capital T and capital S. That is a fine. To go back to the first
Yes,
thing,
Mr. Attorney.
there's the word lot is capitalized. You're right. Which makes me think it's a defined term somewhere, or we're just not picking up.
It very well could be. I'm looking at definitions for lot.
And then on B1, it says principal dwelling structure. We have a definition for principal dwelling.
Sorry, could you repeat that one?
So B1, it says principal dwelling structure.
No, we should change it. You're right. Well, straight structure. Okay. Good catch.
But the lot's already non-conforming, okay, it doesn't have enough frontage.
Mhm.
You can build an accessory dwelling unit as long as it does not make it is not any more non-conforming than it already is.
Correct, so correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. If you have a pre-existing non-conforming lot, so if it's like under the acreage, you can still build a structure as long as it's within the setbacks. It's already pre-existing non-conforming lot, right?
Yeah, as long as you meet your center land and rear setbacks, I mean, some zoning attorneys will tell you, look, even if you're increasing the footprint of the dwelling, even though we had this conversation, holds fell. Even though it's not encroaching on the lot line law, you are increasing the size because if you're adding to the structure, you are increasing the size if the structure is already too close to a lot line. So you are increasing the you're increasing the impact, you know? So a lot of zoning, I've went to a lot of seminars on zoning, some of the big zoning attorneys, they would say, just send them to ZBA, you know? Yeah, because you issue a permit and say they're putting an addition on, second floor on, in the lot, then the house is 5 feet from the neighbor's lot. Well, now you got this towering thing and it's right in the neighbor's face. That neighbor can appeal my building permit, So what he's saying is just send it to ZBA, but what you're saying is, look, if it's non-conforming lot and you're meeting setbacks and this addition is gonna meet setbacks, then I think it's about right.
That's,
Even though it's not conforming, a non-conforming lot, it's not necessarily in non-conformance.
because I know in my experience, I've had numerous occasions where I've had to deal with existing non-conforming undeveloped lots, so they're woods.
Yep.
And,
If you can meet all the setbacks.
yeah, most cases, you're probably familiar with a lot of them, like, you go into a subdivision.
5,000 square feet, you could do it.
Yeah, but there's, a lot that was never developed, and it turns out that it's because, your septic system. All of a sudden, 5 years later, sewer is now available, so there's a lot of lots like that.
Or it perks.
Or perks too with that
No.
situation, but
Yeah.
bottom line is that even if it's pre-existing non-conforming, if it's a lot, and you meet setbacks, it doesn't require any special permit or variance or anything.
What if the non-conforming portion of it is the setback?
Meaning, so if the structure is like too close to the, like the side yard,
Yeah.
then I think
The existing structure?
Yeah, the existing non-conformity is the distance, this setback.
Yeah, honestly, if someone comes in and wants to put a second floor on a non-conforming lot, or you're saying even a lot that's the house is too close to the in setback. I think I would really, if they're gonna put a second floor on that, I really would send it to ZBA.
I
I'm
agree.
not gonna make that decision because it's just gonna be a mess. The neighbor's gonna bitch about it and they're gonna file, and then that's gonna hold up the guy. It'll be in the middle of construction, I think it's just the right way to do it.
And to your point though, Brian, because I'm sure you've dealt with it as an attorney where if something is within the setback and they want to do an addition, the first argument that somebody may have is, well, I'm not making it more non-conforming. I'm in the setback, but I'm not going as far as the
Right.
existing structure. Where this actually covers us, because for 3, says the ADU shall meet the setback and building height requirements for other uses as set forth in the intensity of use regulations. For interpretation purposes, if the principal dwelling is an existing non-conforming structure, let's say that the setback is 10 feet and they're 5 feet off the property lines, existing non-conforming. I have a very good feeling that a development builder would say, well, I'm not gonna make it, more non-conforming if I go within 5 feet of the property line, or if I go 8 feet. Yeah, it's not gonna meet the setbacks, but it's not any more non-conforming than the principal structure. Most states, ADU meets the setbacks.
Yeah.
So that interpretation.
They're not gonna like me, but I'm gonna send them to ZBA.
Yeah, it's absolutely not bad.
That's CBA's decision, not mine.
And that is the exact same regulations that are put on a single family house. We have every right to enforce that.
And then you could tell them that, if their house was non-conforming for 5 feet from the side lot, right? And the regs were 10 feet. If they did the addition and it was 10 feet off the lines, it wouldn't be wrong.
So. Yeah, I think that's what we were saying, that is something that we would pass, but if it was 5 feet off the line and they want a whole second floor on it, and it's gonna be right up to that thing, I would send them to ZBA,
Yeah.
How about this situation? So I'm an agricultural, I need to have 2 acres,
Correct.
right? I have 1.5 acres, plenty of room to build
You're,
an 800 square feet.
and you're 15 feet from the side.
Oh, right, and I meet every
Yep.
side yard setback. I mean, I'm non-conforming,
Correct. But the principal dwelling is non-conforming. As
yes,
long as you meet the setbacks, you would,
as long as I meet the setback.
yeah,
Okay.
the issue would be, I can just picture it, it's really the septic issue, because it takes up a lot of real estate to add.
You know, if you don't have sewer, it's tougher,
Yeah, absolutely.
just more expensive to do.
Yeah.
So on, you can put this ADU on the property that's not developed, if it's setback, is that?
Well, you would have to build a principal dwelling structure that would meet the setbacks.
Oh, you're talking about if there's nothing
If
there?
there's nothing there.
Well, if there's nothing there, that would be your principal dwelling that you're putting on it.
Yeah. You
So
would,
it's not an ADU at that
It's
point.
not an ADU,
You know,
it's the ADU.
correct.
No, you would have to have the front, if you had did you say you had a conforming lot?
You had, you say you have a non-conforming
Oh, a
lot.
non-conforming.
Do you have a non-conforming lot? That's not, no.
Oh,
you-
there's no accessory, there's no primary.
There's no, so you need a primary.
So you need a variance to do that.
Does it see it, does it see it here that? Or
This is accessory dwelling only.
Yeah, so what you're saying, Phil, if you have a existing non-conforming undeveloped lot, and you have every right to put a structure on that if you're within the setbacks. You can do that, but if you wanted to do an ADU, so you'd have to do the principal dwelling structure and the ADU within the setbacks.
If you had a conforming lot next to that, like say you own two lots, right? And you had a non-conforming lot next to you, I'd get rid of the lot line and just do an,
Yeah,
ADU. Get rid of the, combine it, just make the lot line go away.
Sure.
Yeah.
We might have talked this before, but can a developer, let's say they want to build a subdivision of 20 houses, they can make them theoretically with all with accessory dwelling pre-made, preloaded?
yeah, you could. I think the one issue is with the whole purpose of the ADU is typically for additional rental income, because I mean, you could have a family apartment, if you
That sure
wanted to.
does, that sure does spirit the question of the road, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but we don't know. I don't know if that would even really be a big selling point for a lot of people. I think a lot of people, if they were bought a house in a subdivision and they said, oh, we built an in-law apartment in the basement. I think a lot of, if you have like kids, you'll want that to be,
Put a
rec
development-
space for
Yeah, but put a
everybody.
development of two families. One's 900 square feet, the other one's 2,000 or 1,800. Good point. Right. You
Yeah.
know,
You
you
could,
could.
yeah, you could.
A lot of people need, taking care of their parents. You see it all the time. They come in front of your board, accessory dwelling.
Bless you.
There's a lot of
Bless
people out there that have that need.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or family, whatever, or
Yeah.
even to rent it, you know?
No, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, if someone wants to come in with a single family, planned development, they could make them two families, all of them.
Well, would it be, so it wouldn't trigger two families, though, it would be a single family accessory dwelling, it would essentially get it a family.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you built it that way, connected. Put a firewall in between, and then, it'd be a lot easier to do it that way.
What about townhouses?
So, hey, you can call it whatever you want now. Now it's like, what do you want to call it?
It would be a
Two
very,
family,
it would be a very lopsided
Yeah.
townhouse. You
Well,
have 900 square feet on one and.
But you know what? You can
can
design,
drop
they can design them that way. We can't tell.
Doesn't each owner get an opportunity to have accessory, there's
So
It has to be in common ownership, so you can't
this
condoize
point
it.
came up at a meeting.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
question.
At what point? So, so you know how some, like say even a duplex, you have common area, so the outside is common area. If you had it, defined, what's the term for that? If it's, not common area, if there's like a lot line between, for say a duplex or two family, say it's divided, instead of common area where I can go on your side, you can go on mine, if it's not common area, then what's to stop people from saying, hey, I want to put an ADU on my side, but all it says in the regulations is single family zone.
Yeah,
Oh, so it's single families.
Yeah, but it is single family zone. So I don't know, I don't think you can further do it, it would be by special permit anyway,
yeah, they do.
it is stated. in
Single family owned as opposed to single family
there.
use.
Single family zone. I'm sorry.
And I don't, like, the whole thing with the townhouse situation is, so you can't condoize it, because for an ADU, to be an ADU, it has to have a principal dwelling and an accessory dwelling, meaning it has to be under common ownership.
So they don't, they have two principal.
Yeah, does it say, does it go?
I understood that differently.
Well, if you, so
You could condoize anything, but maybe, yeah, if it has to be in.
the ADU
Common
can't be
ownership.
owned by one person, its principal dwelling unit owned by the other, they have to be connected, there's
Yeah.
no way.
Well, there's a townhouse, two people own
Yeah,
half.
Yeah, but you can't do it, because basically you have to own the principal dwelling unit and the ADU, like if.
Yeah, I wanna put it on my half. Put one on your half if you want.
Oh, don't, something addresses that in here.
does that?
Yeah, okay, I apologize.
That's what I'm hearing now.
So I just put, for eight, an ADU is not permitted in areas of common ownership and are subject to pre-existing covenants.
See what the AG does with that.
Oh, they're gonna love
In areas of common ownership, does that have like a specific definition? What does that mean?
it.
I know what you.
But
Yeah.
this still leaves the question Brian asked. So if you have
Yeah.
a duplex
Sure.
and the backyards are defined, A backyard, B backyard, what's to stop
You can do it, you can do it.
an ADU in the backyard?
Are they on the same lot?
Yes,
No, you can only allow one.
It's not
Cause
in common ownership. A duplex.
a total of one ADU is allowed by right per lot in residential, certificate or agricultural zoning districts. It's not for structure per lot.
okay.
Ah. So, let's, there you go. You got this through.
So when someone owns a,
You get a Snickers from.
Yeah. Oh, well, you give them tree.
so they own the lot in common, they don't own, you own the left, I own the right.
Correct. So that's the issue, because I can just picture that being an issue coming up where somebody owns, a condo, because there are areas where lots have duplexes in town. I can just picture this where somebody wants to build an ADU and the neighbor says, oh, hold on a minute, like, I have no privacy, I can't put a fence up. I don't want this massive structure in my backyard. And I feel that we have the legal backing to say no.
What about something like Lou's development? Where he wants to put townhomes and he gets a certain. He can build up to a certain bedroom count, right, or something like that,
Correct. Yep.
but he's allowed by right with this additional bedroom, basically, as accessory dwelling.
I don't believe that that is the case. I don't think he is allowed by right to put in an additional bedroom unit because bedroom counts were subject to the lot area, which is not just for the townhouses, it's for a single family house too. I mean, that is the regulation that we put on the dwelling.
Yeah.
Which is the same regulations we're allowed to put on the accessory dwelling unit. So if it's restricted by the bedroom count, then the accessory dwelling units also are going to be added to the bedroom count. That is where it's important that, Tim and I, we're always talking whenever applications come into either of our offices, because we have to. But that's where it's critical that, you do get an application that comes in and we know that we have an approval in hand from the planning board stating that this is the limited amount of bedrooms that have been approved for this. So,
Do we need to change A3 from at least one dwelling unit to only one dwelling unit?
structure regardless of whether it conforms to zoning, including use requirements and dimensional requirements, such as setbacks, bulk and height, that contains. Yeah, a maximum of one.
Because otherwise, Ryan's little development might fit.
So why not say exactly one dwelling?
That too. No, I think that's fair.
The word at
Make-
least, the words at least allow more.
No, I agree with you completely, because it leaves it up to interpretation.
Maximum of one.
Yeah, for exactly one dwelling unit, like you said. But to your point, Brian, look to see what we have for common ownership, because I think common ownership, if we don't have a definition in our zoning bylaws, I don't think we do, we might want to define that.
But you do have the right to go and get the UVA for an additional. They can ask that.
I don't know, for a special permit.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
For what, so.
Yeah, I'm just saying, they don't have it right.
But do we have to, do you think, separate from this, modify the bedroom count? Language and other provisions.
Well, the bedroom count provision that like, Lou is using, for example, that's null and void. Wow.
Yeah.
Townhouses are
That's-
in that,
But he's pre-existing.
he is, because he had the zone.
But that cluster, like that other one, wasn't, they were single family homes.
Correct, that one does have clause, yet. You're talking about the Redville and the Charles? That one, or are you talking about another one?
North Street?
No, I'm talking about. Harmony.
Harmony, yeah.
They clustered, they can only build so many or something.
Harmony, that one is a 40B. Right,
But did they do the same analysis that Lou had to do eventually?
I believe they did,
Yeah,
What's your?
it was before my time.
it's in the
but-
decision.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
They have so many bedrooms for the whole thing, I think. Not per.
My only thinking is that we may be monkeying with other stuff.
I agree. No, I know what you mean. But as far as like the townhouse bedroom count, that's struck, that's one of the person bylaws. Because North and Blackstone Street have to do the same thing, those two houses, so that was also zone freeze that's done. But the common ownership, I'll take a look at that. The other thing too, this was sent to town council last week, I hadn't heard back from her, but maybe I'm sure we'll be discussing. Anyway, I'll get to that later, but the other two items on here, 7, a business use shall not be permitted in ADU in any zoning district.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then 9, for properties with a principal dwelling in ADU, both structures, addresses should be fairly marked and adequately illuminated. The proposed lighting shall not create glare or spillover that would cause harm to the good and welfare of the general public or cause detriment to an abutting.
That's an important, regulation. Because that's the next thing that's gonna happen. These people are gonna be putting these things in the detached things. And picture, you were putting one in the middle of their backyard. There's your living space outside, you get a nice pool, and they got spotlights. That's a big complaint nowadays. I don't know. That's tough, and the regulation that we have is really a very regulation. It's not residential.
Yeah,
I've tried to enforce it. I've enforced it and they didn't call me on it because I used to be reg on it. But
The
it's
issue,
been challenged, but I mean, I don't have anything to back myself up on.
Well, let's go on.
Yeah, yeah,
the
but I mean, just
issue,
right, yeah, well, we should have it in residential at the end of,
yeah, the issue is it's in the environmental
Development.
controls,
Yeah.
which is triggered by the development plan approval, which,
You can't cast
Does.
light beyond your lot lines.
yeah, which a single family house is not going to require development plan approval unless it creates more than, actually, even if it creates more than 10,000 square feet of disturbance, it's still omitted from development plan approval. It's single family, two family.
So,
So, yeah. But yeah, we could easily.
we need a bunch of stuff that we wanna adjust.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that needs to be added to the list.
Yeah,
And I think we talked this through, but a business use and a home occupation is two separate things.
Yes.
They can use.
Home office is a home office. Business use being, if they're in the business district. And, you know how we've sent them to ZBA for, the primary use being residential. And the, secondary use being the business aspect,
Yeah.
accessory to the, to the primary. In the business district, but this at least addresses in every zone.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if there's a way internally to clean up the business certificate situation. I know we might not even need to, but because typically if somebody's going for a business certificate, you're usually on top of if there's any zoning issues. And the people that didn't get the business certificate
Yeah,
are dragged into town hall to get one because they haven't been flagged having.
we have a different, we have some language in there in our zoning. We can actually, have a couple of cars or whatever. I forget what it says, but there is,
Commercial vehicle.
yeah, yeah, adequate parking,
Yeah,
not to disturb the neighbors, something like that, but the business certificates, we get them every day.
oh, yeah.
And they're more so I make people, they make the rounds. So I do the zoning end on it, and I say to them, I make them, when they come to, I write on, they write what they're, like, it's a questionnaire. And they write what they're trying to do, and I add right in it, and I write home office only, because that's the question. I said, this is just a home office, right? Because they need it for their LLC to have a checking account with the bank. They need a business certificate saying that they're legit.
Right.
The banks are making them do this. So I write up right on that, they'll write the nature of their business, but I'll add to it, and if they don't have it, home office only, I'll initial it. Plus, I say in the bottom, but I initially. And I tell them, every single person, I said, look, if this gets more of an impact, and I get a complaint from your neighbor, I'm revoking that. I say it to every.
We've had some interesting conversations where somebody would come in and they're looking for the business certificate. What are you doing? GC.
Yeah.
You got what?
Drill.
Yeah, the mini
I say,
excavator,
no.
the Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said, look, you need to get a business location like everybody else.
Yeah.
I said, you're allowed one light, commercial vehicle, one light, I mean, I've had arguments with guys with car carriers, bringing wreckers home because they're on call, starting up in the neighborhood, I mean, I've had, so then I gotta find one home, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I tell them, I said, go park at 799 South Main Street. It's a parking lot. You get a call, drive there. If you have to take your wrecker home.
It's not like when you call AAA, they're there in 5 minutes.
I mean, people call and complain about, look out my window at this every morning. I hear it start up. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it's residential. It's residential. It doesn't belong there.
Yeah. So those are the edits that I made. The couple other things. So I already mentioned that it went to town council just to get their preliminary feedback, which what I would like to do is maybe talk to Amy Wessel about the common ownership discussion, because I'm sure they can have something pretty good that works in our favor to address the common ownership situation. The other thing too, I know we talked about public safety with these things. So I did talk to Chief Miller, and he's looking at his codes just to figure out if what I'd like to do is if there's something that's specifically catered to single family houses, just rather than pick apart the code, just cite it. So in that way, if there is an issue, Chief Miller can say,
Subject
it's
to
subject to this section, you
section,
gotta
yeah.
change that, rather than start picking things out of it.
So in our last meeting, we talked about accessibility around the primary residence with the ADUs in the back by EMTs.
Correct.
Where would that be stipulated?
So
Driveway.
it would be the driveway. I'm not too sure if the code, the code that Chief Miller is looking into specifies the access, but I specifically talked to him about, the big issue with the access for you guys. So,
So it needs setback from the side lots. So there's gonna be at least enough space from a structure to the sand lot for EMTs to wheel a stretcher through.
correct.
May not be shoveled.
Well, let me ask you this too, Tim. Like, do you run into the issue where, like, if somebody's building a house, is there any requirements for anything building code for, like a paved access to like the front door or something? No?
No, just,
When I say paved access, I mean stable access.
no,
Somebody could,
ton.
they could have their house, and then 10 years later, they put a fence around their whole property, and now they wanna build. That chain link fence is gonna remain, right, so
Well,
there might never be any access into.
You'd have to have a drive, you'd have to be able to, create, you're gonna have to create parking for it.
Right, if they had a driveway, they could fit one more car.
Yeah, so egress, yeah, I guess it could be, you could have that situation.
You got a fence all the way around.
You could have a lot
And
of-
then the firefighters would cut the fence down.
Yeah, and I think, ultimately,
Doesn't it say somewhere adequate access?
We discussed it last week.
well, I think there's like the separate entrances.
Yeah.
I would like to get, because I did talk to Chief Miller specifically about access to the EDU, and if he's needed to look into it, which he is, so.
Well, under your definition, you say meet the requirements of state building code for egress.
Yeah.
Now, is that structured egress, site, or both?
No, it's the egress is the structure for the building code.
Yeah, because even for our, like for zoning purposes, if you have development plan approval, there's always discussions around egress. That's why we have like the fire truck template system. But it's tricky because with the single family houses,
You can't regulate a single family house.
yeah, and it's typically not an issue
Fire
because
department
when
can't.
somebody builds a house, they want to make sure they can get in and out of
Well,
it.
there's usually a exit road.
Yeah, exactly, but this is where this whole, it's a great question because if you have this thing stuffed in a backyard, I don't know what the answer is, and that's where I'll see what Chief Miller comes up with.
Well, you have to have access to it.
House can't be
So it has to be a separate access. That's what, this needs to be, it has to have its units.
Yeah,
So access going to the outside.
Well, I'm trying to find the word, so it's word. It says, I think it says separate.
So fourth line down at the first one, maintains a separate entrance either directly from the outside or through an entry hall or corridor shared with the principal. It's sufficient to meet the requirements of the egress or back to structure.
yeah, it's structure, not site.
Yeah.
The simple thing would be, but we would never, the AGU would never approve it, would be, you state something along the lines of the structure being, accessible per AAB.
So I think we should do that. Let the AG get on the hook for creating fire hazards. Life safety
We
issues.
should think about that.
Yeah.
Maybe try to come, maybe, didn't Milford have something in this? I don't think this has been approved by the AG, but I think I had something.
I didn't see Milford's. Milford's,
I sent you.
did you?
Yeah, the site plan approval. Yeah, they have a small site plan requirement. Early on, I sent it to you. I have it. I
More
know.
early on.
Oh.
Like I was retired
No,
or?
no, I got it. I think they put it in their fall town meeting. So I got it probably in December.
When I was first hired, it wasn't that long ago, it's been like 10 months, so. That's it. Poor town.
So
Yeah,
it
so
seems,
I feel like.
seems like it's been 5 years.
No. Well, so what I'll do is, let me talk, I've already talked to Chief Miller, but let me see what he comes up with. And then if worse comes to worse, I mean, I don't mind putting in here something about making sure it's accessible for EDA or AED.
I think something's critical. You can't have a
I agree with you.
200-pound plus.
The thing is, if you word it that way, then it's gonna be built that way too, and slopes and everything. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, well, I'm sure that. So I mean, I think that is the intent of what we're looking to do here. Fine. Well,
Yeah.
well,
I don't think that.
maybe it's tough to be accessed through that, American,
Disabilities.
it's
Yes.
the accessibility over from Massachusetts. Like, we don't want to stand it.
That's close. Yeah.
Accessibility to disabilities. Yeah.
But if somebody has a house, it's not supposed to be able to live around,
Architectural access
Oh,
for.
yeah, that's it.
and a fence around it, or they have a fence around their backyard, so they have a pool. They want to put a accessory dwelling in it. And they have like gates,
Hmm.
people to walk in, but there's gonna be no access for a fire truck. And the ambulance.
Oh, I got it. How about we just put something in here that it's site access to ADU shall be
Emergency.
deemed appropriate by Bellingham Public Safety or something.
Right, I'm not envisioning them getting a vehicle.
Yeah.
I just have this vision where we got this person, senior.
Oh, he's ready to.
In the backyard.
Yeah.
And these fire trucks have to carry the stretcher.
Yeah.
Through the snow. Around the front.
Yep.
Because there's no clear path and they get between the house and something and they gotta tip it to make it fit because it doesn't fit.
Adequate driveway access or something like that. I'd like to see what some of the other towns are doing.
Or their only option is to go through the principal unit in the back door, through the house, to the front. And to your point, if you got the fence all the way around it, we have one in our neighborhood that's like that.
Yeah, that was narrow gate for a person to walk through, I would imagine. Maybe they have. Something driving.
And then if the principal's not home.
Yeah.
And you kicking down the door to get through.
That is what I'm running last week, yeah. Break the doors in to get the structure through.
You want to, because the snow.
And then you're picking up a person, a 300-pound person, but they gotta get from the house.
Right.
You know?
Wow. I think people are gonna live out there. I think reasonably, people will create paths for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I have,
They'll have to.
you gotta walk over there, I can't, I'm not gonna. You know, I'm not gonna. Not shovel.
They're applying a lot of reasonableness.
Well, this. ADU shall provide adequate access for emergency responses deemed adequate by the Bellingham public safety officials.
It's a good start.
Okay.
And this that gives us subject to approval,
Okay.
a review process.
Good. And I'm still talking to the chief about like code and stuff, and I'll see if he has a specific. But it might make sense to define Bellingham public safety official as, fire chief. I think the police are gonna be.
You know what? Make it the tree warden. Will blow their mind.
Listen, tree warden is that's a little subject. All right, so I will talk to the chief some more about this, but so there's a couple things that I'm gonna be changing on this, and it will continue to change a bit once we get town council's input, but what I can do is I will make these limits and you will see the draft to everybody. We are a bit up against the clock. I didn't realize how early for school to a meeting the warrant opens and closes. It actually closes the end of this month. The good thing is that everything that needs to be on the Springtown warrant, as soon as you have a placeholder, you can work a little bit while the warrant's being reviewed by town council, which I think needs to be close to the end of the month. So we got time, but nonetheless, we gotta move quicker than anticipated on this. But I think we're in good shape, so what I would like to do is I can make these edits, continue talking with the chief, talking to town council, and then just sending this out to everybody so you're just gonna know on how this is going.
Rob, we had talked about a couple of other safety issues that I didn't see in here, maybe I missed it. One of them was late addressing these ADU.
If he has it in.
Yeah, so
I just missed that one, right? Good.
properties of the principal dwelling and ADU, both structures addresses shall be clearly marked. And
Okay, perfect, thanks. And the other one was electricity access to power. We had talked a little bit about.
Yeah, I'm
if we
making
needed
them,
to-
I'm making them do a separate one on a detached.
Okay.
So it'll be under
Yeah.
building.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it has to be needed. So
Yeah.
as far as water and sewer goes, that's not my.
When it comes to water, sewer, electricity, or utilities, I would just I wouldn't necessarily specify it in here, go through you if they want to contest it, go to the attorney general.
For,
If you say put in a separate meter and I'm not doing.
oh, the
that.
building code, if it's a rentable unit, it's supposed to be needed. So, there you go. It's in the building code. They can't circumvent the building code. Or board of health, they can't circumvent. There's no leeway there. So it doesn't. It's mostly zone here. It's mostly zone.
So picture a very ridiculous conversation with the AG saying, well, you can't specify separate utilities for a single family. Yeah, because you can't have two utilities for a single family dwelling, because it's a single family dwelling.
So, I gotta get a meeting going with Jesse and the DPW as far as water and sewer go. I don't think he's gonna wanna start having separate taps for, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I gotta find out what.
well, there might be regulations that allow only one stub per property.
Well, if I have a big house and I convert it to a multi-family. What do they do? They must just rent it out somehow.
Well, so the element here that they're adding is you can rent it.
Well, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
like, so that's already a thing, right?
Yeah.
If I own a big Victorian, I wanna make it a three family.
The rate, the rental rate you charge is inclusive of utilities. Often that would be water, septic,
Yeah.
maybe only the electricity
And
broken out.
how do we rate it? You know, how you're gonna rent it. This is what happens. People start renting these things, right? Even now, existing places. They get into fights with the landlord because the landlord will say, when they don't have a separate meter, they'll say, well, you owe me this much this month, you owe me this much of this month. Or one renter is paying the whole thing, and I in the middle of fights with, landlord and where it's not really a place, but it's an existing thing that was there, and they don't even know, sometimes they don't even know which meter is theirs. That's what a mess is. I tell them to turn on your electric range and go outside and see which meter is spinning. That's your meter, But I mean, over the years, it's using that. Now you add in water fees because it's a real hard costs now, water and sewer.
So
Okay, I guess you could, you could, you could, you could split it coming in. I guess you could split it coming, if it came in, if he didn't want to give you another tap in the street and you ran it through the principal dwelling, I guess you could run another meter right when it comes in, do a Y or a
I
T.
should do a distribution box in
What, a curb stop, you mean?
just in the yard, tap into the main line. And then.
Yeah, so
split it.
that's what I gotta figure out what they want to do, but, you know, either tap it in there or through, if it's a connected dwelling, if they're connected, you could do it through the other dwelling, I guess, you know, do a T, and because they read them on the exterior. You know, they just drive by and read it.
that's gonna be a pain though, because you're gonna, if you split it, you're
If
gonna
you
want,
s-
you're
if
gonna
you-
have to put in at least 2 more
Yeah.
curbs.
If they let you split it after the curb stop, fine, I guess, you know,
But even
like
then,
what
you're
you
gonna
said, yeah.
do or stop on each. I mean,
Then, well, then they would only have to shut off one curb stop, you know, if there was a problem, but then that's a problem because say the detached thing and it caught fire and you know, you're shutting off both waters, you know, so yeah.
that's what we mean, is that you're gonna want 2, because you get one stop.
Yeah,
both
now,
units.
now that you're gonna be, they're gonna be tapping, have people tapping all over the place for water and sewer.
It's gonna be a mess.
That's what I mean, it's just, it happened so quick, we didn't get a chance to do this and get out in front of it.
The sticker shock that people do, you know.
Yeah.
From, you know,
Connection fees,
connecting power, sewer and water.
because
Like, are gonna be, you know, as much as building structure itself.
if you have to cut across the street to tap the sewer line or the water line, you're talking a bond, putting up for the road. And if the road was freshly paved, they don't want you digging in it, you know, for 2 years, or is it 3 years they go or 2?
It's 3.
3, you know.
It's new, but that was just recently that.
A lot of towns have that.
Oh, yeah,
We
we're-
just passed it.
it's good,
Yeah.
because we're one of the few towns that.
So, but it's not that easy. It's a real cost, like you're saying, because the sewer tap, I mean, you gotta put up a bond because the thing's gonna sell, you know, and you gotta fix it. You're responsible for it until it stops selling and the new patch. You know.
Not only that, but just wait, I guarantee you with this passing, in terms of the water pollution control,
Yeah.
they're gonna nail people with surcharges like that.
Well, that's the next thing.
Pull a permit, you are getting blasted with.
The north is, I mean, there is capacity, but not a lot.
No, yeah. And the sewer,
Yeah,
yeah.
even, the state has gone and passed this. For a gallonage, whatever, gallon and a half, no. DEP has already stated this.
Yeah.
So here we are creating more units and we can't say no. Now, the south end of the town is a different story. Because we're getting water and, well, no, not water, but sewer from Woonsocket.
I get my water.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think I might be the only.
that's what happened to you.
Yeah.
Because there was actually with you.
Just figured it out. Anyway,
Yeah, so, yeah, it's not pretty. Yeah, there is.
there is.
So that's, can I ask one more question? Is there we talked, I think, about limiting the number of people that can live in one of this attached.
I don't think we're gonna be able to enforce anything quite like that.
Like, I think a lot of cities, but like Boston, they say, if you're renting an apartment and renting it to college kids, you can't be more than 4 people living in it.
There may be a city regulation.
Right, it says something. 16 people and.
Which we could do it. Love it.
Actually, I think there might be a way we could do it. If we specify in our definitions for our zoning bylaws, in the definitions bedroom, like whatever it is, and then say can accommodate maximum of 2 occupants.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer to the number is, but I know other towns do that.
I mean, I don't think you're gonna want, I mean, I guess you could have. If you have kids, you could have maybe like, you know, little bed and an extra bed in one. Even if you set a max of 2.
Now that every property owner is simply a multi-family home. I think we need a multi-family. Zoning.
Yeah, I just gave you a solution, you don't seem so excited about
What
it.
is it? It's been a long 10 months, Ron.
Be longer than 10 months, it was the next 4 years on the planning board.
I think Brian's got a point. You know, the image you guys showed,
Steve,
the $900 was in the construction.
What is it?
In this little square, 20 by 30 square, but drop ship $9,000 from Amazon. Four bedrooms.
yeah, it said that
Four bedrooms.
4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms, they got about a foot outside the bed, so that's 8 people. Another one had 3 bedrooms and a bathroom.
There are dimensions. They have to be a certain square footage. So I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's
Not
not,
to mention, these things, all these new products, they also have to be UL approved. They need a UL rating, or they're not getting a permit. What's that?
What's that thing?
Safety, underwriters.
I'm glad you.
Burn tests.
All have to be done,
tests,
yeah.
Wind tests.
Hmm. I can look into it.
That's a good job to have.
Yeah.
The UL inspector.
Yeah, we had a bunch of
The structure,
just gonna move them all.
set it up, you blow it up.
A lot of new products come in that you have to watch for.
I think it's a great question, Brian, about how many people can live back there.
Yeah. If we could regulate, most simply, that'd be fantastic. If you could regulate it like that, it'd be great. Because we have like a certain population moving in, that's going over from different towns. That they just load up, you see it, they're covered with, 4 hands in front of them. In the driveway, and a bunch of people living there, how many people are living there?
Well, I mean, they're supposed to have, annual inspections, right?
Only multifamily.
Well, everybody has a multi-family home now.
Oh, 3 or more, anything over 2 is what I go into.
3 or more units.
Not like a 3-family.
18
So,
kids a shop,
family, you don't care.
holidays,
No,
10
I have no jurisdiction on it too.
That's a little unfold too.
Yeah, it's been like that for a while.
It's not to the list of things.
When I started in Bellingham, right? We had no identified, we didn't identify any of our 3-family homes. It was supposed to be inspected every 3 years. They need to be inspected. So I went, I went one by one, and most of them are down south, but they're around north too, a couple of them. But they're inside, identified every single thing. What kind of heat? When's the chimney been done last? When did you do the dry events? Because these are rental units. So how many bedrooms in each one? I have a fact sheet on every single one now. And they get a letter automatically now because we have software. That, when their inspection periodic is due. They get a letter, they set up an appointment, we go back out again and see what's changed. And so I can regulate every single 3-family, but 2s and 1s, that's not my jurisdiction.
So, but is that a creature of,
State.
state?
Yeah.
I would imagine, and I keep going back to Boston, but they have that college population where the kids cram as many people as they
And
can.
they have a separate regulation for that because of the schools.
State or
Boston,
Boston?
yeah. I'm sure it's in their zoning. I'm sure it's in their zoning. I don't know. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, Bellingham could. Apparently, right? If Boston can.
Yeah, and that might even be something that,
It has to be something that's gonna pass through the AG at the end of the day too.
yeah, but there's even something that could, health department might even be able to define in their regs.
They might even have something, they might even have something.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of regs.
yeah,
Multifamily unit definition is more than one.
Maybe you could follow up with Don.
maybe.
He's in your office every day.
Next door to your office. Who?
The one, he's the one I did.
Let's see. All right, so I mean, that's what I have right now. I think it's a very good conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's quarter of 8 anyway. Look at that. I think it's gonna be a quick meeting. I always. It's good though, we're talking about very good stuff, but that's what I have, so what I can do is, let me work with this. Get the draft regulations done, I'm gonna get them done, turn around quick, I just need to talk to town council, that's the limiting factor in all this, cause I know Chief Miller will be able to accommodate, because we've already discussed stuff, so he's just looking up regs. But I'll be able to get that over to everybody, and, you know, if you have any comments, you can respond to me. I think we should meet again maybe at the beginning of March. We'll have time before the warrant gets posted before then, so.
Sure.
We can do that, but the yeah, so that's this is just an update, because I know I mentioned to you folks about this floodplain reg that needs to be updated. So I was under the impression that because basically the floodplain maps that we go off of, like the zone, when we see like, planning board stuff and Concom stuff. That gets updated every so often. I think our current maps, the effective date was 2012, so they are updating those, and because of that, we have to update our regs to basically show that, we have new maps that you have to actually follow. The other part of it too was, which I didn't realize this was, the FEMA is requiring us to update, not us, everyone to update the regs to be in line with their model bylaws. And it was pretty involved. I did it all. I didn't want to even, because I knew it had to be turned around quick. I didn't want to bring it up to the bylaw review committee, have you guys, review it, and then me tell you this needs to be done ASAP. So I just did it. I know Tim, you've been involved with it. The different changes were making sure that you have, what is it, a floodplain administrator in the community, and just citing different definitions. There's a lot of language that just needs to be added. So if anybody's interested, I can send you the regulations, but it'll be on the spring town meeting warrant. I took care of it. I just want to let you know, because I mentioned it before. But I didn't want to add more on your plate. These 8 new regs have been a full.
Is there much of a change to the flow?
Not really. There's a few LOMAs, which are letter of map amendments, but those, if I'm not mistaken, are down south near us. So like Pine Grove is such, and Rankin Road, like they're at, what, the Arnold's Road? Not Arnold's, Peters. There was a few associated with Peters River, and those are usually if you're doing like a septic upgrade near the FEMA flood state.
Scotter Lake is there, there's that area in there.
Correct. So
Center Street.
all that is like so the maps show the outline of what they consider the floodplain, because it's based on elevations. Those are mostly approximate, because it's based on the what happens is, if you're building next to it and have a survey, a lot of times that floodplain is creeping way into your property, which a lot of times it might creep even further in once you do the elevations and do a survey. But more often than not, when people file a LOMA, it's pushing the floodplain out of the development, and it's all surveyed. They have to submit this thing to FEMA for them to certify it. And that's where the map gets amended every so often to basically do like a review of all these amendments. Yeah.
Was it a net decrease or increase?
I have no idea. Yeah,
So
I don't think it changed.
It wasn't obvious, whatever it was.
No, it really wasn't a whole lot of LOMAs. I think there's like 7 that was listed, which isn't really a lot over 12,000. So, but anyway, that was just the update on the floodplain regs.
Didn't affect Lou's development?
Well, we all know how.
A lot of that floods.
Yeah, that's the zone A.
Yeah.
Which there's more to actually follow with the floodplain with that project. I can't really go into detail with that one, but it did, the flood map did not affect that, so. Great.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And then the other thing, I know the minutes they were submitted today, I think everybody, I don't know if anybody had a chance to review them.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Love it.
The second one,
Any discussion? All in favor? Any nay?
All right, excellent. So with that, I don't know, do we want to pick a date for the next meeting, the beginning of March? It could even be. This is the 6th is ZBA, the 13th, 12th and 13th, 12th is Concom, 13th is planning.
Do you have a deadline that you'd like us to review something by? So you have input?
Well, I'm gonna submit everything to everybody electronically anyway, so you can just respond to me and.
When does the article have to go to type?
And I think it has to be posted by the 28th of March, I believe.
You want to do the 18th, or you want something earlier than that?
Let's say,
I would prefer earlier, but I know,
what did you say, the 12th is, CBA?
the 6th is ZBA, the 12th is Concom, 13th, planning board.
11th?
it's good for me, 11.
The 11th is.
Tuesday, the 11th at
6:30.
6:26.
Right, 6:26.
11, 26, 27.
Does the 11th work for everybody?
I'll be in Utah, but that's fine.
March 11th,
Yes.
on Shaheen's birthday.
Oh, is it? Ah,
We good? The 11th?
Yeah.
At 6:26, AKA 6:30.
Do we need to do anything about that voting wise or no?
Schedule, it's all good.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excellent.